somewhere in southern Iraq, nearly 4,000 years ago, a boy is asleep. Outside, the mudbrick street is dark and still. Inside, he's curled up on a mat, and in a few hours, before the sun has fully cleared the rooftops, his mother will wake him up. He doesn't know it yet, lying there in the dark, but the story of his one ordinary school days will survive, word for word, for 4,000 years, copied by other students over and over, long after he was gone. It became something schools taught with, the very thing children just like him would recite, generation after generation. Tonight, let's follow him, just one day. His mother wakes him early. There's no lingering. She hands him 2 loaves of bread and sends him off into the grey morning light. He walks down a narrow street of mud-brick homes, past neighbors just beginning their own days, until he reaches a door that looks, honestly, like any other door on the street. Because that's exactly what it is. Here's something that might surprise you, if you're picturing some grand stone academy with columns and courtyards. This school, what the Sumerians called an Edubba, the tablet house, is just someone's home, small, plain, no different from the outside than the house he just left. Archaeologists have found these tablet houses tucked all through the old cities, sometimes clustered together into what feels like a scribal neighborhood, a handful of families, generation after generation, quietly passing the craft of writing from one household to the next, the way a family today might pass down a bakery or a small workshop. He pushes open the door and steps inside. Inside, it's not so different from the houses we know from the archaeology. Small rooms opening onto a courtyard, low mud-brick benches worn smooth from years of use. In one of the best preserved tablet houses ever found, a place called House F in the city of Nippur, there was even a bread oven tucked in a back room. School and home and hunger, all under one small roof. He settles onto a bench. In front of him, clay, soft, damp, waiting. If this were his very first year, they'd have handed him a small, round tablet, the kind scholars today nickname a lentil or a bun, just big enough in his palm for a line or 2 of practice. But he's older now, further along. His tablets are bigger, multiple columns, hundreds of lines, copied out in a hand that's grown steadier with every passing year. He's spent years by this point, drilling sound before sense, chains of syllables, cycling the same consonant through different vowels. Mu, ma, mi, gu, ga, gi. Nonsense almost at first, just shapes for the mouth and shapes for the hand, slowly learning to move together. Only after that came real words, long lists grouped by meaning, trees, animals, stones, cloth. One of these lists that survives runs to nearly 9,700 entries spread across 24 tablets. He copied lists like that by hand for years before anyone let him near a poem. And here's the strange part, the part he probably never questioned, because it was simply how things were. The language he's being drilled in, Sumerian, isn't even the language he speaks at home. Nobody speaks it at home anymore. His actual mother tongue is Akkadian. Sumerian, by his time, had already become something closer to what Latin would become centuries and centuries later for a very different set of tired school children. A language you learned with effort in a room because it carried prestige, not because anyone spoke it in the street. There was even a saying about it. one that outlived the language itself. What kind of a scribe is a scribe who does not know Sumerian? Even then, apparently, there was no getting out of it. Now, the day turns, and this is where it stops being gentle. Different days, different mistakes, but the cane found him for all of them. Once for talking when he shouldn't have, once for leaving the school grounds without permission, and once, simply, for standing up from his seat when he wasn't meant to. But today, it was his handwriting, struck by his teacher because he looked at his tablet and said plainly, "Your hand is not good." "I neglected the scribal art," he says. "I forsook the scribal art." Whether all of it happened in a single day or across many smaller ones folded together in memory, no one can say for certain anymore. Some of it may have grown a little in the telling, the way these things do when a story gets passed from one tired, laughing student to the next down through the years. But the feeling underneath it never got exaggerated. And we don't only have his words for it, we have his hands. When archaeologists examine tablets like the ones he would have used, they find doodles pressed in absent-mindedly, stray fingerprints, and this is the detail that always stops me: bite marks. Small teeth pressed into soft, damp clay. A bored child, a frustrated one maybe, at the end of a very long day, a day very much like the one the boy is describing to us. It closes a distance that 4,000 years should make impossible to close. There's one more thing worth knowing about that room he sat in, and it says something quietly moving about the whole system. Clay isn't paper. You can't simply throw a mistake away. In the courtyard of a tablet house like his, there were pits lined with mud brick, where old, finished, mistake-covered tablets were soaked back down into soft clay, ready to be smoothed flat and used again. Which means almost everything he wrote that day was always meant to be erased. His caning, his bad handwriting, his whole difficult afternoon, pressed into clay that would, within days, dissolve back into nothing and become someone else's fresh beginning. Nothing he wrote that day was built to last. And yet, somehow, his story did. So, sitting there, sore, humiliated, having neglected and forsaken the scribal art, he comes up with a plan. He goes home, and he convinces his father to invite his teacher to dinner. Wine, food, gifts laid out generously. His father listens to him and gives heed. And it works. By the end of the evening, the very same teacher who struck him that morning is praising him, calling him gifted, promising, exceptional, with, as the old text pointedly notes, no real evidence that the boy had actually changed a single one of his habits. People have had a name for this kind of thing for a very long time now. Apple polishing, some might call it today. Currying favor instead of earning it. 4,000 years later. And somehow, that story still feels completely familiar. Let's stay with him a little longer before we let him drift off tonight. Because this, the beatings, the recited lists, the dead language, the tablets soaked and reshaped and written on again, was never the whole story. It was the price of something. If he finished, he'd carry a title with real weight to it. Dubsar in Sumerian, tablet writer. and that title meant something rare in a world where almost no one else could read or write at all. It meant guaranteed work for the rest of his life, in temples, in palaces, in the households of ordinary people who needed a contract written or a debt recorded. And there was a goddess for it too, Nisaba, goddess of grain and of writing and of numbers. A finished piece of writing, by tradition, closed with a small line of thanks to her. He would have been taught, quite literally, to credit his hard-won skill to her. And here's one gentle thing worth adding before we close. Not every child bent over clay in a room like his was a boy. We know of a princess named Simatum, whose dowry included her own personal scribe, a woman. We know of a high priestess named Ninshatapada, who described herself, in her own words, as a woman scribe. And we know of Enheduanna, a princess and high priestess in the city of Ur, centuries before our schoolboy's time. She wrote hymns to the goddess Inanna, and for hundreds of years after her death, students in tablet houses like his one copied out her words over and over, learning to write by writing out someone else's voice. Historians still gently debate whether every line credited to her was truly her own hand. It's an honest, open question. But what isn't in question is that her name survived, attached to her own words, for thousands of years, which may make her the very first named author in the whole of human history. And somewhere, in some tablet house not unlike this one, a tired, ink-stained, honey-tongued boy may have copied her words too. So tonight, as you drift off, picture him, not as a name, we don't have one, but as a boy, satiated from that dinner, full, praised, forgiven. Tomorrow, he'll wake early again. His mother will hand him 2 more loaves of bread, and he'll walk back through that same plain door. Back to the clay, back to the lists, back to becoming, slowly, patiently, over 12 long years, someone who could write. Sleep well.